The world is asking one question. Why did I attack the United States? The United States has had the world in a constant state of war for over 100 years. Time and again, we have seen the catastrophic results of this belligerent, militaristic policy. These wars haven't led to resolution or peace. These wars have only led to more wars. The United States has set the agenda because they wielded the biggest stick. Well, no more. This is not the beginning of a war. This is the end of all wars.
After San Francisco, the entire free world turned against Atlas. Irons entrenched himself at his headquarters in New Baghdad. All communications ceased. Both sides knew what was coming. Our mission was to fly in with the 37th Airborne during the initial shock and awe campaign. From there, we would break off and infiltrate the Atlas Command Center, taking out Irons. For Cormac, it was the end of a journey. He'd been waiting 5 years for this day.
Last minute change of plan. We'll be flanking around from the east and the north, covering Blue Team on their sortie over the target.
Yes, sir. Guess I've got the soft option.
There are no soft options on the table. I just don't want all my assets in play at once. We're only gonna have one shot at getting the bastard.
That's all we'll need.
I know it. Just stay alive. You're our star witness when we drag his ass in front of the Hague.
Looking forward to it.
All right, good luck.
There was nothing more to say. We all knew what had to be done. This was the beginning of the end. For one of us.
Hello, I'm Zihan. Welcome back to another episode of Not Just Games. Today, we're going to look at aerial warfare, the battle in the sky, dogfights that are tremendously crucial in ensuring your campaign's victory. Be it in reality or the gaming world, air supremacy is pivotal. Tell me, who hasn't experienced sudden death by fighter jet missiles in COD Modern Warfare, and unlocking the chopper gunner score streak in COD Black Ops Cold War would have stepped up your game real good. And shifting to our real world, desert guerrillas don't even have a speck of hope to survive an all-out airstrike. It would be a royal annihilation, a total carnage, and such is the fear and awe that aerial warfare holds. On the contrary to this grandness, did you know that aerial warfare starts from something fun and harmless? Something that most of us have come in contact with when we were kids? I'll get to that part in a while. But first, do check out my previous warfare videos. I've covered Black Ops operatives, the most deceptive military force on Earth, and the exciting ins and outs of ground warfare. If you're interested in those topics, do visit the links in the description below, after watching this video of course. Now, let's get back to business. That aerial warfare is something that most of us have come in contact with when we were kids. What is it? Kites. Yup, it all began with kites. General Han Xin of the Western Han Dynasty helped establish the dynasty's dominance in 200 BC battles via a creative ancient aerial warfare strategy. He periodically sends up kites with whistles attached to their tails in the direction of enemy bases during nighttime. The terrifying noises produced en route rattled the nerves of the enemy forces, making them believe that they were being attacked by the heaven itself. It also served as a psychological warfare tactic, deteriorating the enemy's morale right from the sky. The first similar to modern military air warfare use of kites was invented by an English aviation pioneer, Captain B.F.S. Baden-Powell, in the 1890s. His Lavater, a man-carrying kite system, was developed especially for aerial observation purposes by the military. Yes, early aerial warfare mostly concerns reconnaissance, that is, gaining a bird's-eye view of the battlefield. Come the First World War, military air power saw its real birth and a rapid acceleration of its technological advancement. The nascent decade-old war aircraft was used almost exclusively for recon, just like COD's Black Ops Cold War spy plane score streaks that review enemy positions in the fog of war minimap. Static balloons remained the supreme choice throughout the First World War. for ultimately it evolved into the early aerial offensive weapon known as the Zeppelin. Zeppelin raids were notoriously famous. German Zeppelin bombed London on 31st of May. It was the first of such attacks by Germany and claimed 7 lives while leaving 35 more injured. A few raids later saw its most successful one, which was done on the 8th of September, causing more than £500,000 of damage. The Zeppelin raids were primarily aiming at sowing fear among the public and the military, a propaganda if you will, in addition to being a superb method to divert resources from the front line, a psychological warfare yet again. But of course, the British aircraft picked up the cues and started to retaliate by arming itself with a mix of explosives and incendiary bullets. On the 5th of August 1918, a British fighter crewed by Egbert Cadbury shot down Zeppelin LZ-112, a Zeppelin of the Imperial German Navy that could have bombed New York and left it a smoking cinder. In case you're wondering, yes, he is a member of that famous chocolate family. The first true fighter aircraft came into existence when the art of firing small, lighter machine guns in synchro with a propeller to achieve forward firing was perfected. This is crucial, since biplanes with open cockpits were prevalent throughout the First World War. The Second World War opens the door to revolutionary aerial warfare advancement. Speed and firepower were improved leaps and bounds, with the first jet fighters making their frontline debut by the end of the war. Such jets were the British Meteor and German Me-262. Bombers also saw a boon, with colossal aircraft such as the British Lancaster and American Flying Fortress being deployed in huge numbers. Their bomb load and range were far superior compared to their World War I counterparts. Aerial strategic bombing tactic was a war favorite. Next came the advent of Raiders. A new breed of aircraft, the Night Fighter, was fitted with radars. Night fighters specialize in nightly bombing raids hunt. Simply put, it preys on bomber aircraft engaging in nighttime raids. Pretty cool, I'd say. Close air support is the use of attack aircraft to support ground troops. Remember that part in COD Modern Warfare where you get blown to smithereens out of a sudden? That's close air support in action. It also hunts tanks with large caliber guns or decimate battleship supremacy at sea with air-launched torpedoes and bombs. Modern US military use the Apache helicopter as a close air support option, among others. Want to feel how it's like to be a close air support operative? You can play as a gunner in a close air support helicopter through the Chopper Gunner score streak in COD Black Ops Cold War. The Second World War also saw improvements in aerial warfare areas not directly affiliated with face-to-face combat, namely the transport and supply aspects. Large-scale operations were made possible by transport planes. These planes rapidly supply reinforcement forces on terrains hostile to transport networks or simply lack it, like the dense jungle in ground warfare or the wide ocean in naval warfare. In retrospect, we can say that the Second World War elevates air power to a vital component of warfare. For the first time, it was integrated properly into warfare, playing key roles in airborne troop supply, naval aviation, and close air support. Although the Second World War has ended, it was not quite the case for warring activities. The newly established superpowers of the world proceeded to be locked in the dance of rivalry known as the Cold War. An arms race was certainly started, and aerial warfare was one of its participants. Military aircraft development starts to really thrive like never before. The 50s and the 60s spared no efforts in developing fast, high-flying strategic bombers to deliver a nuclear weapon. In answer, big interceptor aircraft with speed belying their sizes were developed as a countermeasure. Such aircraft is a Russian interceptor. MiG-25 Foxbat is at the top of the world's fastest military aircraft list with a speed of Mach 2.83, along with MiG-31E fighter, which is also a Russian issue. As for the air weaponry front, guided missiles with infrared radar guide system became a big hit, although it did take some time to really take off. The Korean War and Vietnam War pushed helicopters in the war's limelight. In Korea, helicopters were shown to be an invaluable asset to the team, for it excels in rapid transport and plays the role of a medevac platform impeccably. The Vietnam War, on the other hand, deserves its nickname as the Helicopter War, for its mostly non-big vehicle-friendly terrain dictated no less for you to have a fighting chance. Well, get your attack helicopter score streak in COD Black Ops Cold War and experience the exhilaration for yourself. On the air-to-ground weapon front, we saw how napalm, fuel air explosives, and the first ever laser-guided bombs made their debut during the Vietnam War. The effects of these were peak devastation, although the laser-guided bombs were at best primitive. Towards the end of the Cold War, stealth technology enables aircraft to avoid detections by reducing the reflection or emission of radar, visible light, infrared, audio, and radio frequency spectrum. Hence, it can be quite a challenge for a conventional radar to detect, making it an exceptional choice for eluding radar-guided weapons. The first modern operational aircraft specifically designed around stealth technology is the F-117 Nighthawk. The Persian Gulf War of 1991 first brought attention to F-117 Nighthawk's military role. Though famously referred to as a stealth fighter, it was actually a street ground attack aircraft. Put to retirement by the US Air Force in 2008, a portion of the fleet is maintained in an airworthy condition. There are reports of Nighthawks flying in 2020. The end of the Cold War saw the end of the glory days of the nuclear bombers and their partner interceptors. It's time for simplicity and versatility, and of course, cost efficiency. That's why high-tech, low-manpower aviation came into the picture. It's the age of UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. Also known as combat drones, UAVs carry aircraft ordnance, or weapons as we know it, and engage in drone strikes. They are usually under real-time human control, with different levels of autonomy. No human pilots are needed, since its handler runs the vehicle from a remote terminal. Military use of the UAVs was initiated by Israel, who uses them to perform real-time surveillance, electronic warfare, and decoys. The first UAV war was the first Gulf War back in 1991. It was reported that at least one combat drone was airborne at all times during Operation Desert Storm. Global militarists hopped on the UAV bandwagon after the 1991 war showcased its promising potential. From non-lethal military exercises like recons and electronic warfare, the UAV naturally dipped its wing in the lethal warfare pool. Such moment was recorded in October 2007, where a US Air Force UAV called the MQ-9 Reaper had achieved its first kill. Afghanistan insurgents in the Death Route region of the mountainous Uruzgan province tasted the Hellfire missile courtesy of an MQ-9 Reaper. Beginning 2008, USAF began sending Reapers into combat operations in the Iraqi airspace. The US Africa Command also launched an Indian Ocean anti-piracy campaign in the island of Seychelles by sending Reapers on patrol missions. UAVs are abundant in COD Modern Warfare, though they are mostly for recons and intelligence gathering for deceptive maneuvers, as opposed to being combative. After all said and done, does aerial warfare not have any Achilles heel at all? Of course they are. Precision missiles from fighter aircraft mean nothing if the intelligence feed is inaccurate or manipulated. Collateral damage in the form of civilian casualty in occupied cities or near populated areas can involve not only the questions of ethics and humanity, but also be an offering served on a silver platter to be leveraged by the enemies to garner sympathy and recruit more people to their cause. Not to mention how you need to ensure your inside ground informants to be fully adept in relaying accurate infos. You might even need to train them yourself. Another not only time-consuming but also money-burning exercise. Ironically, precision-guided munitions have led to people having unrealistic expectations regarding casualties of air warfare, which in turn has made the leaders to think more than twice when it comes to bombing. And it is quite counterproductive, don't you think? Though UAVs are there to make military expenses more bearable, them being more accident-prone certainly does not help. As reported in the 2012 Bloomberg Business article, Reaper, Predator, and Global Hawk are the most accident-prone aircraft in the US Air Force fleet. One can argue how they are sent to operate in hostile spaces, but still, a lost is a lost. That said, you can always say a pilot's life is incommensurable, and UAV's value is nothing compared to that. And with that, our aerial warfare discourse comes to an end. How was it? I hope you'll be able to enjoy the games at a more intense level after this. What is your all-time favorite aerial battle game? Or would you prefer to play a ground operative instead, so you could launch a targeted anti-aircraft missile with your high-tech artillery? Let us know in the comments below. With that, stay safe and see you in the next episode.
And roll back the German aggression that has terrorized Europe for the past 5 years. We are all that separates the world from darkness. This, so much more than a chance to be heroes in our own lifetimes. If we prevail, our triumph will be etched into the hearts and minds of a grateful world for untold generations. I'm talking about glory, gentlemen. True glory.
Colonel Davis sure can give a nice speech. His pep talk reminded me of the one Coach Johnson gave us on our Thanksgiving Day game versus Austin. I'm sure you remember we lost that game by 42 points.